Lectures and libraries, books and exams, daily life for most students. Higher education is meant to be something you can trust, a standard recognised around the world. Too often though, things may not be quite what they seem. There is a place where it's possible to get hold of top degrees and diplomas with no checks, no regulation, no standards. Away from the real world on the internet, it can seem that more or less anything goes. Dodgy degrees are nothing new. Black markets in fake bits of parchment go back to 14th century Europe. But the internet has transformed the business of dubious qualifications into a billion-dollar industry. It's now thought 200,000 degrees are dished out each year by unrecognised virtual universities based entirely online. Carolyn Campbell runs the international section of the Quality Assurance Agency, which checks standards in British universities.
Nowadays we see that these diploma mills and bogus providers are able to sort of adopt the apparatus of regular universities. They can see what goes on in these institutions and they replicate it. They're very difficult to track. They're very difficult to find actually because they're operating on the internet.
So, armed with just a laptop, we started to look into this lucrative business. To hand out a British degree, you have to be recognised by Parliament. But there's a loophole. It's perfectly legal to give the impression a university is run here, but in reality incorporate it on an obscure island with no regulation. It's thought there are now around 350 unaccredited universities just like that linked to the UK, triple the number of officially recognised institutions. Take the American University of London, founded by this man, Professor Michael Nimier.
The American University of London has always emphasized three important qualities: education, education, and education.
It describes itself as one of the leading distance universities in the world, with more than 100,000 students since it was founded. Mike Derry-Smith is an investigative journalist specialising in internet research. We worked with him to take a closer look at the university.
It might be called the American University of London, but if you scroll down you can see it's incorporated in St Kitts and Nevis, an island in the Caribbean, the kind of area where a lot of these kind of institutions are based. And now that's a few thousand miles away from where it suggests that it's based, here in London. And here is the location of the post office box, and there's nothing there. They don't seem to have a physical location in London at all.
So what about the people actually running the university itself? What do we know about them?
Well, on the website there's a video of them both. There is Professor Michael Nimier, who is the founder, and Sonia Grimes, who is a registrar. Now, from public records, electoral rolls and so on, we know that they are living in Beaconsfield in the UK. And here on the university's website, the phone number that the university lists is a Beaconsfield area code. And also, the bank that you pay tuition fees into for the university is the local Beaconsfield bank. So, while it might be incorporated in St Kitts and Nevis, overseas in the Caribbean, it appears that the company is operated out of the UK.
On its website, the American University of London says it does not award British qualifications. It has claimed to be recognised by 3 different American institutions, but all these are themselves unofficial and unrecognised. It used to say it was accredited in Norway, though the people there say that never happened. It is, though, listed as bogus by the agency that values degrees for the Italian government, and it has been blacklisted in 5 US states, including Texas, where it's illegal to use any of its qualifications to get a job. Looking online, the university does boast an impressive faculty list with some well-qualified supervisors. But when we contacted 5 Western academics on that list, all said they had never worked there and never agreed for their names to be used. The American academic George Golin has spent much of his career researching the murky world of unaccredited education.
If you look at all closely at this American University of London, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't have legal authority to award degrees. They are not degrees. They're pieces of paper. So I think that they're charging a lot for a product that does not stand up to scrutiny, and I'm guessing they're not able to sell very many degrees into countries where English is the first language.
The university says most of its graduates study at independent colleges in countries overseas. Those affiliates are apparently independent with their own staff, subject to their own local laws. The American University of London simply takes a fee to help set the curricula and issue graduation certificates in its own name. Given the web of colleges involved, it's hard to know how much work these students have done and what the quality of teaching is like. We wanted to see how easy it might be to get a degree direct from the university itself. So Pete, what we're looking at here is the holy grail of macroeconomics by Richard Koo. So we found one crack student and got to work training him up. And you'll notice in chapter 7, there's a whole section here about Japanese interest rates from 1990 right the way through to 2007. Now, if you'll just pay attention for a second. Meet Pete from Battersea. We drew up a one-page CV for Pete in the name of an invented 36-year-old management consultant with 15 years work experience and a 2-1 undergraduate degree from a UK university. Standard background for the Masters in Business he was applying for. This is the kind of stuff you really need to get in your head if you're going to qualify. In just 4 days, the decision came back.
Well, he will be actually registered as a graduate within about a maximum 2 weeks after we receive the fees.
Fantastic. So just two weeks. That's what he wanted
Absolutely,
to know.
yeah.
He wouldn't be expected to submit any more work or anything like that.
No. And apparently, the Apple board awarded him full degree immediately, based on his qualification on his professional experience. So he doesn't have to do any courses.
Hello, boy. Okay. Hey, look what I've got for you. We applied for a master's degree based only on life skills and work experience. It was awarded straight away. We were told no studying or extra work was needed whatsoever, so long as we paid the £4,500 fee.
I wouldn't want you to think that I'm cynical, but this CV in itself is weak. And so at the moment, just having a first glance of this, warning bells are going off in my ear.
We showed our written application to Jan Bamford at London Met University, which runs properly accredited MBA courses.
This concerns me enormously, and so for me this is the question of whether you even get an offer, because I don't know how true this is.
So based on what you've seen here, would this be enough for a legitimate university to award an MBA?
It's nonsense. It's absolute, and I find it incredible that any organisation is awarding an MBA on what essentially amounts, okay, there's an application form there, but the evidence is one piece of paper.
None of this would matter, of course, if the American University of London had no students. But on professional social networking sites, there are hundreds of senior executives, all graduates of the university. We found the chief executive of a multinational drugs company and an expert in terrorist rehabilitation who served in Iraq. Others with senior qualifications include a psychologist from Birmingham who gives expert testimony in court cases. Dr. Robert Oakes was awarded his PhD just 5 months after first submitting work, though he told us he had spent 18 months on his own background research. He was already a registered forensic psychologist based on a previous degree. He said he believed the American University of London was properly accredited, but has now taken the qualification off his CV. And we found a senior executive in the nuclear power industry. Dr. Rita Bowser was in charge of selling a new generation of reactors in the UK. She was awarded her doctorate in business after submitting what she describes as significant amounts of coursework. Her employer, Westinghouse, said she is well qualified for her job with 30 years experience and 2 previous degrees, including a master's from Georgia Tech, a respected university. All of those individuals have told us they did submit work to get their degree. But the point is, because the American University of London is not checked or accredited by any recognised body, we can't know what the standard was like or how much work they did. What we do know is that, as in our case, the bar can be as low as sending off one fictitious made-up CV and getting a degree back 2 weeks later.
Why is it these private institutions don't have the same checks and balances that universities have? I think it's a huge concern. It undermines the very essence of the education process, that people can gain a diploma or offer a diploma without any of the processes that are required by universities.
Already there is pressure on our university system. This week, the government said places will have to rise by a quarter to meet demand. Online learning is meant to fill some of that gap. But with few standards and little regulation, we might have some way to go until we can really trust education on the World Wide Web.
Jim Reid. Now, in a statement, the American University of London said, "We are not a bogus university and have always been upfront about our status. We haven't applied for accreditation with any American, British or other official agency. Many graduates go on to higher education or hold important positions on the strength of our degrees. Most of our study modules are on a par with those used by top distance learning universities, and degrees based on work experience are extremely rare."